Hello Chain Gang, and welcome back to the 4 Chains Travel and our 4 Chains in Italy playlist. This video right here has been months in the making.
Yes, literally months. And our original plan was actually to make one video comparing renting a car in Italy with using public transportation in Italy. But over the past few months, we have had so many lessons learned from our experiences, and we want to pass all of those off to you. So we're going to separate it into 2 videos. There'll still be comparisons, but today we are going to focus on renting a car. The first half will be on the strengths and weaknesses, and the second half, that's going to be about the lessons learned that we had to learn on the fly that you can learn now, and you can be a lot more comfortable with it if you decide that renting a car is the best choice.
And also, as we always say, we make mistakes, so you don't have to.
Oh boy, did we.
We are coming to you here from Bari, Italy, and we would like to talk to you about rental cars versus train and bus travel.
Yeah, we have been to Europe a lot, and more specifically to Italy a lot, and we have always used public transportation, and it's worked for us, and we have never even really thought before, really seriously considered renting a car. But we got a comment when we had spoken about that on one of the other videos saying, well, have you ever tried renting a car? Because we were saying how public transportation was that much better. And we realized that we hadn't. So in order to speak about this in the future, we kind of had to do that experiment, right?
Yeah, and we had the perfect scenario for doing it because we were traveling long term, but for a short period of time, a week or 2 weeks, one of our daughters was traveling with us, and she wanted to hit a bunch of spots in a short period of time. And some of those spots were not areas where there are necessarily train stations close by or convenient bus ins and outs. So
there is a convenience associated with renting a car. So we have rented a car in Salerno. We are going to take it to Matera. We're going to take it to the Puglia region and drive around the Puglia region, and so we can do some comparison. Right, well that kind of puts us right into the discussion. We're going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses. We're going to start with renting a car. We are actually on our way to take a train to Florence, but we're going to talk about renting a car. And another thing I noticed even after we made this decision, we saw a video by Happy to Wander, and she makes great videos, and she was bemoaning how inconvenient it was for her not to have a car. She was taking public transportation, and it really made us think about some things. So I guess
there's definitely pros and cons.
Yeah,
to
there's
this
pros
scenario.
and cons to both. Let's talk about the pros of renting the car that you don't get with public transportation. You touched on it. Leia had a really tight schedule, and she wanted us to focus on the transportation because we'd done it before, and we found it was very difficult to be able to get to certain things, particularly Salerno to Matera.
So yes, we were in the Amalfi Coast, and we were trying to get to Puglia, and we wanted to stop at Matera on the way. So just to orient, right? We're talking about the heel of the boot of Italy, and we started on the Amalfi Coast, which would be the west coast of the heel. We needed to go directly east pretty much, right through where Matera is, and then eventually end up in Bari, which is where we are now on the beautiful campus of the University of Bari. And we just didn't find great options other than driving for getting from the Amalfi Coast. We left out of Salerno to Matera.
Yeah.
There was a lot of conflicting information. It also depends on the time of year. Sometimes certain buses might run through there, but we just were not successful in finding something that was going to work for us.
One of the apps we use a lot of apps, and in the future we're going to do a video on the best apps for foreign travel. If you want that sooner and later, tell us in the comments. But we use Rome to Rio to look up possible routes, but we don't book on Rome to Rio. Nobody really does, and I found that some of the options listed on Rome to Rio didn't actually exist with Trenitalia or any of the other trains.
Right.
So that leads me to another strength, which is that we could have done it, but it would have been very time consuming and very difficult to check into our accommodations at the hour we would have arrived, and we would have lost an entire day. So I would say saving you time is a big advantage of rental cars.
Absolutely. Yep.
There were times when we would...
There's an ant on you, hold still.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was a tick. Did not want that tick to lodge itself in your neck.
There were times when we were visiting certain spots where we felt like we wanted to spend more time. Loco Rotundo's an option. An example of that, Bicele.
Well, speaking of Loco Rotundo, that brings up another thing, which is we hadn't planned on stopping there at all, but because we had the car, we had the flexibility of saying, hey, before we hit Alvaravelo, let's just make this turn in Loco Rotundo.
So, and that brings up one of the complaints that Happy to Wander had about using... she was using public transportation. She could only hit the major cities. There's a lot of small cities in Puglia that we got to visit that she didn't get to visit because it would have been just way too problematic. So,
frankly, some of those places that we stumbled upon ended up being our favorites.
Yeah, being our favorite place. We're gonna eventually we'll do videos on each individual town in Puglia, and then eventually we'll rank them. But you'll be surprised at some of the towns you haven't heard of that would rank high on that. But she had a legitimate complaint there because she's a content creator like us. And even if you're not a content creator, if you're on vacation, you want to get the most bang for your buck on vacation. You want to be able to get the most activities. And lots of times public transportation involves a really long day. Like today, we're going to Florence, and we have to walk to the train station, then we have to train station, then we have to take a bus, and then we have to walk from the bus.
But there's also a transfer within the train.
That's right.
We're stopping in Rome, and then we're transferring to Florence.
So it takes more time. So certainly if you have unlimited money, a car is an even better option because you're really concerned. You're not concerned about the cost. You're more concerned about the time, and it definitely does save you time. It gives you more options, and also I should mention there are towns that we plan on spending more time in. We wanted to spend less time in, and we weren't beholden to a train ticket.
Right.
We could just get up and go.
Right.
So I would say that those are the positives. There are some negatives to cars, and boy, oh boy, we experienced them in severe fashion.
These, and we still made mistakes, so you don't have to, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll hit the first one that we touched on, cost. If you have unlimited money, this doesn't matter to you. But I've heard people on other videos say, this is the amount for the cost of our rental car, and this is the amount of public transportation. This is the price difference, but that's not all the money that you have to spend, right?
You have to pay for gas. You have to return it with a full tank. And we drove a lot. And you also have to have insurance. We were lucky that we got it. Was it through our Amex card?
Yeah, we got insurance through our Amex Platinum.
So that was great. But if we didn't have that, it really would have almost doubled the cost of the car rental in total.
Yes, and gas is very expensive in Europe. It is in most places, but it's more expensive in Europe than it is particularly in Italy, and than it is in the United States. So that was a significant expense. We're going to show you the totals that we spent on the rental car and on gas, but also parking. We wound up having to pay for parking in Bari one night, right?
And not only paying for it, but even worse, it was such a time dump for us because there is no parking in a lot of these cities. I mean, no parking.
Yeah, Matera is a good example. You look on the web; they have websites that talk about the parking, and of course they're promoting Matera. So they say, "Yeah, we've got lots of free parking." There's not lots of free parking. There's 5 spaces total.
And in Bari, I mean, we literally returned our rental car a day early because it was such a pain to find a spot. We could have put it in a garage overnight, but then that's an overnight.
We found the best parking garage, which is actually about 20 yards from here.
Yeah, that's right.
But you either have to pay for parking. The 3 nights, there were 3 nights that we took 52 minutes and we got a spot about 6 blocks away. The best day was 56 minutes to find a space, but it was right around the corner.
Rough. So
and
research where
we
you're
got
going.
really lucky in terms of that one. And then we had a day where we spent over an hour trying to find a space, and we parked 1.6 kilometers away. Okay, so we are now getting a parking space 1.6 kilometers away from our house. And it took us, we'll tell you the time, when we get into this space. Okay, so the bottom line is that took us 1 hour and 6 minutes, and we are parked 1.6 kilometers from where we need to be. When you're dealing with parking, people double park. The parking is crazy. So I'm just going to take a pause right now, and we put together a little video about the parking situation in Bari, which is similar to other cities. This guy literally parked on the crosswalk, and then this guy just decided to park on the corner. Not atypical. And then right in front of that is a guy who parked doing both. He made both, the corner and the crosswalk. And then this guy parked under the construction. Yeah. And one of the things that before we put this video out, we still won't know the results is something that's got Angie very nervous, right?
Yeah, this was something we knew about, but it inadvertently happened to us anyway, just because we got turned around sort of while driving. Be careful, especially if you're in old towns, old cities. There may be historic areas where you're not allowed to drive, and they're called ZTL zones, and there's a second name for that. We got lost getting into Estuni, and I'm sure we're gonna have multiple tickets waiting for us when we get home. And it's worsened by the fact that it was a rental car, because the ticket goes to the rental car company first, and then the rental car company sends it to the person who rented the car and got the ticket for doing that. Every delay that passes, every, I think, day that passes, the ticket price gets upped. It's a pretty miserable situation.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure we could have $1,000 bill waiting for us between the multiple times that this happened.
Yeah, either you're watching now, or I'm going to insert a video about our Estuni experience. We actually got rescued by the former mayor of Estuni, who came and found me using a pin that I had dropped and took me to this secret place. But if he wasn't there, I'm not sure what I would have done.
Luckily, and this is a thing to know too, luckily you had your Find My Phone on so that I could locate you, because he had no idea where he was in this city. And I was able to see where he was using Find My Phone and tell the gentleman who was helping us where he was. And he said, tell him to stay there. And he walked to Jim, and they drove the car together to a spot where he knew that we could park overnight, luckily.
We've been visiting Europe for 2 decades, and most of that in Italy. And I've never had a more stressful time than finding the space in Estuni. And the only thing that comes close to that is the several nights that we tried to find a space in Bari. It is absolutely, unbelievably ridiculous.
An added stress to that, which is Estuni and Matera are incredible. Matera is one of the oldest cities in the world. The streets, when we say narrow, and we had a SUV when we rented the car.
We got an upgrade because of my credit card, and I was very excited, but it does not work well.
We should not have gotten that. It was comfortable. We had a Honda HR-V. That was great in terms of comfort, but getting through these teeny, narrow streets was a nightmare. And parking spaces, again, you have a better shot of getting a space if you're driving what do they have, Fiat?
Yeah, one of these teeny little things. You'll see them all the time. So one last hint that I want to say about driving is that you have to, when you pick up your car, you need to take a video of the entire car all the way around, and then you
Inside
need to do the
out.
same thing when you drop off. And by the way, here's an expert hint. Always make sure the person you're renting the car from and the person you're dropping the car from watches you videotape it. You don't want to do this on the DL. You want them to see it because you're sending them a message. Hey, I know that this car didn't get in any accident or get any dings, so don't even try to find me. And luckily, we did not get any fines for damage, but we've seen in our groups on Facebook and stuff, a lot of people saying that nothing happened to their vehicle and they wound up getting this huge repair bill. So
yeah, that's very common. Be careful of that.
Yeah, so those are the strengths and weaknesses.
And as you will see in next week's video about public transportation, there are strengths and weaknesses of both. One of the things that's essentially a wash is the view. Whether you take public transportation or cars in Italy, you are going to absolutely love the sights. But which is the best choice really depends on your needs and your priorities. There are places where the choice is absolutely clear, like Ireland, where the choice is definitely renting a car, particularly in Western Ireland, to see the sights. There are no other options. The only exceptions would be if the only places you are going to be are Dublin or Cork, Ireland. In Italy, you definitely don't want to rent a car in Cinque Terre or the Amalfi Coast. We will make why that is absolutely clear next week. To quickly answer the most common questions, yes, the steering wheel is on the same side of the car, and you do drive on the same side of the road when you are in Italy. However, there are many things that are very different about driving in Italy that you only discover when you actually start driving. So we're going to pass along some of those hints so they don't catch you by surprise and cause unnecessary stress. However, there is one issue about the speed limit that we were never able to solve, and maybe you can help us in the comments.
Although expensive, there is a convenience associated with renting a car. So we have rented a car in Salerno. We are going to take it to Matera. We're going to take it to the Puglia region and drive around the Puglia region, and so we can do some comparison. I can already tell you that I appear to be going a little over the kilometer speed limit, but everybody else is whipping by me like I am got it in reverse. Leia's pointed out something about merging. Leia, what's that?
Exiting average speed zone. They are very gradual with the merging. They'll just say, excuse me, I'm going to slide right in here.
Very gradual merging, yeah. And you may have heard Waze. Is that Waze that you have on?
Yes.
Say entering average speed zone. Please tell us in the comments, what does that mean, average speed zone? Does that mean there's cameras? That means, come on, man, just... You heard it, average speed zone ahead. Do you just, drive average, bro. Don't go crazy. I don't know. But let us know. We don't know. According to Waze, I'm going 119 kilometers per hour, and the speed limit is 90. But other than this one guy,
average speed zone.
There it is again. Other than what's in front of me, everybody else is driving faster. So let us know in the comments, please. This guy has a tire.
Get away from this
that's
guy.
about to come off. Hell no, homie, don't play that.
This is the very rare instance that we've actually seen a little bit of a shoulder on the highway in Italy. Most of the time there's a pull-off, not a shoulder like this. So here's the shoulder. And that's it.
You guys are going to have to help me out here. I am going 97 in a 40, and I'm in the slow lane, and look at this car right here. He just whipped by me like I'm crawling. These are kilometers per hour. I'm going 99. Okay, now you see the speed limit's going up to 50, right? That looks like the speed limit to me. And if you film the display on the car, I'm going double the speed limit, and this car is whipping by me like I've got it in reverse. So can somebody please put in the comments what I'm missing? Because the other thing about it that's of note is that I am not going faster than the cars in the slow lane. Our daughter went to college in Miami, and I always thought that was the craziest situation because you got a lot of people like presumably on cocaine or whatever, driving way fast, and then you have the people that go there to retire driving way slow. So it's dangerous when it's different speeds, and this is a similar kind of setup here. So please explain it to me, why there are so many people going double the speed limit and then other people that are going presumably triple the speed limit.
And in addition to following the speed limit laws, presumably you have to follow all the laws. And one of them is you do have to get an international driver's license. I got mine at a AAA office in the United States. But in order to get that driver's license, you only have to provide a passport and your current United States driver's license, and you have to pay a small fee. What you don't have to do is learn all of the traffic signs. And for the most part, the traffic signs are different. The first difference between these signs and the United States is there are different speed limit signs. You can see that the first one is the maximum speed, but they also have minimum and recommended speeds. That doesn't answer my question for me in terms of why people go so fast, but maybe you can fill in the blanks. There's a couple of no entry signs that seem obvious, but the restricted entry doesn't, and usually under that are some signs indicate what that entry is restricted to. If you saw our Matera video, the no parking and no stopping signs are critical to not getting a ticket. Some of them are obvious, like these roundabout signs, but the sign for the fact that it's a city center is just a black bullseye, and to me, that is not very intuitive at all, and I'm not sure it really matters. How bad do you need to know that something is a city center? The no passing sign seems very important, but don't rely on it for your safety, as you will see drivers constantly violating this rule and doing so at extreme speeds. They're a little more respectful of the slippery surface sign, but that sign really indicates kind of squiggly roads. The road narrows sign is critical because there are tons of times in Italy where the road gets smaller and then wider, and those are something that you really have to pay attention to if you're going to stay safe. So there you have it. We really, really love Italy, as all our subscribers understand already, and we want everybody to get the most out of Italy, and that's why we make so many videos here. I hope this gives you a lot more preparation to be able to rent a car if that's your choice. And next week's video will cover all kinds of public transportation. We're talking about ferry boat, we're talking about train, we're talking about tram, we're talking about bus, and certain variations of those, and how to navigate them, operate them, and why you should never be intimidated to do so. We will see you next Saturday on the 4 Chains Travel.